If you're thinking about becoming a manager for the first time, you may have some concerns. And things women have told me include things like, how do I know I'm going to be a good manager? I've never done that before. How do I know I'm going to like it? I'm going to be affecting other people's careers. What if I'm not great, or what if I hate it? What if I have an underperformer who's going to totally blow up my experience of being a manager? Right? All legitimate concerns, because you've never had this experience before and it's different from what you're doing now, even though the underpinnings are the same, the technical capabilities, very different from being an individual contributor. So by the end of this video, I'm going to leave you with 5 strategies to prepare so that if you become a manager, or when you become a manager, you'll have a process, you'll be at ease, and you'll be able to do it with confidence. For the best strategies to take your career to the next level, subscribe to my channel, hit the bell, so you can be notified when I post new content every Tuesday. I'm Christina dellisanti-Miller of Full Potential Realized, and I spent about 20 years in big corporates in leadership development and succession planning, talent management, diversity and inclusion. So I'm able to use that inside scoop to help women take their careers to the next level, and I've helped hundreds of women to move beyond what they thought was possible. If you look at the research that came out this year about what's it going to take to crack the glass ceiling, they're pointing to a phenomenon that's relatively new in this conversation, which is called the broken rung. So what they're saying is, at this level of companies, you have disproportionate leadership in terms of gender, because at this level, women are not stepping into first-time manager roles early in their career as often as men are. And so that winds up having an effect all the way up the chain. And so one of the things in terms of correcting the balance is to make sure that more women have experiences earlier in their career managing people. So before we jump into the strategies to prepare yourself to be a leader, I'm curious, what do you think are the pros and the cons of becoming a manager of others? If you wouldn't mind sharing in the comments, I think it's advantageous to our whole community to see different perspectives on this. Okay, so here we are with the 5 steps. The first one is establish how you're going to be being as a leader. And what I mean by that is determine the principles and rules by which you'll lead. And you have to figure out what's going to work for you and what's going to make sense, but I have a recommendation for one that I love, which I used actually my first time teaching management training back in the 80s. And it used to be called Miller then, and now it's called Achieve Global. There's an article, I'll put a link in the comments, that explains where these principles came from, but they're tried and tested, and having trained managers to use them, I can attest to the fact that they help create an environment where people produce their best work. So they have these leadership guidelines called the basic principles, and they're things like focus on the situation, behavior, or result, not on the person. Maintain people's self-esteem. Take initiative to make things better. Lead by example, right? So very simple, clean, but elegant principles that take work to practice. And it's like developing muscle memory, because the time to use them is when you're under duress. That's the time when they're most important, but that's the time when they're hardest to deliver. So taking on your principles and practicing them in all situations is the first step to preparing to become a good manager. Second one is to understand the role and really have a blueprint around what skills are needed, how you're going to be spending your time, and what results are valued. So I love this one. I highly recommend this book, The Leadership Pipeline by Ram Charan. And what it does is it gives you an outline of all the manager roles and responsibilities, and it shows you the connection between each, or what the passage looks like between each. So for example, what is the transition between individual contributor to manager of others? And what does it look like going from manager of others to manager of managers? From manager of managers to managers of a function? From managers of a function to managers of a business, to a division, to a CEO, because each level of complexity has its own specific skills that you need, its own specific ways that you spend your time, and the specific results that are valued for that level and that are needed. So let's drill down for a second into the transition between individual contributor to manager of others. What are the skills that are needed for each? For individual contributor, it's your technical skills, probably also being a good team player, probably also adhering to the values and rules of the organization. For a manager, you have the underpinnings of those technical skills, but you also have creating a plan for the department and a budget and goals and milestones for the year. You have communicating the vision. You have delegating the responsibilities. You have monitoring performance and providing feedback and development. You have coaching. You have providing rewards and recognition, selecting people for the team, all that good stuff. The way you spend your time as an individual contributor is meeting the priorities and goals that are set for you. The way you're spending your time as a manager is ensuring that your team is meeting their goals and also coordinating and communicating with other departments and making sure that things are aligned. Third strategy is to engage a group that's your advisory team that gives you a 360-degree view and a lot of different perspectives. This team is going to help you to reflect, they're going to coach you, and they're going to give you an opportunity to have sounding boards from different views. So who should be on this team? Your manager, provided that you trust your manager, maybe your manager's manager, some individual contributors that you respect, some other first-line managers who are either new or experienced, some managers of managers because they have a different view, and some HR people, maybe at least one of each. So what do these guys provide? The person who is an individual contributor can give you a sense of what do managers do that have this person be effective or reach their full capability, or what gets in their way. So they can share what works and doesn't work from the perspective of employee. Other neophyte managers can share the perspective of what are the challenges that are coming up and how do they overcome them, and you can kind of compare notes. People who are experienced managers of others can give you tips and tricks about what's worked for them, and managers of managers have a broader view and are used to coaching managers about the process of managing, right? So they offer another perspective. And HR people have seen a plethora of managers and have a lot of different perspectives about what they've seen that works or doesn't work. Fourth strategy is to come up with a process flow that's going to keep you in flow. So when you're in the job, things are going to be coming at you and there's not necessarily a lot of time to think philosophically about how you would like to be operating. But if you think about it ahead of time and set up a structure, both an annual process and a more short-term process, and lay out what are the things that you want to see happening, you'll be much more likely to include strategic processes in how you do day-to-day work. So in the annual process, you have goal setting, you have planning, budgeting, setting objectives with your team, monitoring your team's performance, mid-year coaching and performance appraisal, developing your team, end-of-year compensation planning, performance review. There's also the process of executing the work. You might want to have a development opportunity for your team as a group, like an offsite or some kind of learning activity, or a way for them to be together kind of in a casual setting so they get to know each other and you build your team to be more cohesive, right? So what are the big ticket items that you want to have in an annual plan, and how do you prepare for those and think through who your partners can be to help execute on those? And then your shorter term things, every week, for instance, I want to have a one-on-one with all my people, or every other week. I want to have a team meeting once a week where I communicate what's going on at a broader level. I want to walk the floor at least once a day if you're in a space where you're co-located with your colleagues, right? Like what are the routines and what are the ways to be in communication, to be understanding what's going on, and to be in relationship with your people. The other piece is to engage your advisory team to see what their processes are so you can pull from all their ideas and build something that has integrated success practices that others have already established. Fifth strategy is to assess and build the skills that are going to be most valuable to help you be an effective manager. So I like to use this for the competency model, and paired with that, I suggest the Career Architect Development Planner, and I have a separate video that I'll point to at the end that shows you how to build a development plan. But basically, the Career Architect lists what the skills look like in terms of behaviors when it's delivered skilled or unskilled. And it gives practical examples of things that you can read, learn about, practice, do on the job to build that particular capability or competency, skill, knowledge, or ability. Also, I would say work with your advisory group to help you distinguish what are the competencies from the list that are going to be most valuable to you, and maybe give you some feedback about how you occur to them in terms of delivering those, in addition to your own self-assessment. I also have a video about requesting feedback that I'll point to in the end cards. And I would say a really great idea to develop your skills and to help you iterate so that you're not doing this the first time on the job is to set up a project for yourself where you manage other people through some kind of building of a result or developing an output. Example, leading a small team to raise funds for a fundraiser for your favorite not-for-profit. Building a voter registration drive and engaging a team of people to plan it and execute it. Because this gives you the opportunity to do all the things that you'll have to do as a supervisor. You'll have to create a vision. You'll have to create a plan. Maybe you have to create a budget. You'll have to select people, right? You're explaining your vision to people. Some are interested, some aren't. You want to find out who's going to be the best person to help you deliver. You're going to delegate. You're going to give feedback. You're going to monitor performance, motivate people, right? Maybe there's some reward and recognition in that. So the idea of having it be not a new experience, I think, could be very valuable because, again, when you're able to hit the ground running and you have the confidence of, okay, I've been through I've been to this rodeo at least once, and now I'm going to iterate and continue to improve, because you're always improving and learning new things about how to motivate people and how to get things done. But I think there's less fear because there's less unknown. Taking on a management role is one way to advance your career. And I think it does provide a lot of choices and a lot of opportunities beyond what you can do as an individual contributor. Additionally, you can think about positioning yourself as high potential, high performing, and promotable. And if this is something you'd like to learn more about, I have a free training, my 8-step process to accelerating your advancement. You can find that at fullpotentialrealized.com/advance. Let me know what you think about it. I'll put a link to the free training in the description. So check out the videos that I mentioned that give further detail about requesting feedback and developing a particular skill. If you liked this video, please give it a like, hit the bell, comment, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And let me know also in the comments what questions you have that you'd like to see answered or what additional topics you'd like to see covered. Thanks so much. I look forward to seeing you next time.